Greetings, the Hijabi Gamer here, and yeah, I know it's been a while since I've made any videos. I did mention it's Ramadan, things are rough. Ramadan hits me particularly hard because I like to nibble all day. I'm one of those people who just like snacks all the time. So, if you see me, I usually have a can of Red Bull, a bag of popcorn. I'm constantly eating all the time. On top of that, I have a very physically demanding job, so I once wore one of those watches that tracks how far you walk, and it was like 16 miles in a day, which actually makes sense because if you walk a half an hour, a mile per half hour, you're working 8 hours, yeah, it was 16 miles. So when I get home from work, there's usually the option between, video or sleep. Video, sleep. I'm going to go with the conk out until it's time to break my fast. So it's been a rough Ramadan is particularly rough on me. I also miss my Red Bull all day. But I thought I'd make a quick video on some of the common questions and misconceptions I have about Ramadan. I think I made one last year. I can't remember. That was a year ago. I've basically lost track of time. Anyway, so I thought, why not? Anyway, here goes. Now, one of the common questions I get, which I really hope people are joking, seriously, if anybody's actually seriously asking this, I'm concerned, but people ask me, is the cat fasting? Yeah, no, she's not. If I value my life, there's no way the cat is fasting. She's a cat. She eats whenever she wants, it doesn't matter. The only problem with Ramadan is my cat is unique when it comes to when she gets hungry. See, Buster doesn't get hungry based on the state of her stomach. She gets hungry based on external circumstances. What I mean is, she's, for example, used to getting fed when I wake up. So I wake up, she wants to be fed. It doesn't matter when I wake up. So I could wake up 2 hours early, and she thinks it's now time for tummy yummies. Doesn't matter if she's really hungry or not. She could literally have just eaten. I could go to bed for an hour and wake up, and she thinks it's time to eat again. She's also used to getting fed when I come home from work, which is usually around 3:30. So if I were to say go out on a Saturday from like 9:30 to 11:30 and come home around noon, she thinks it's time to eat. Even if her bowl is full, no. She needs new food now. So the only problem with Ramadan is it throws off her tummy yummy schedule. We wake up earlier to have a, before sunrise meal. And then I usually come home from work and feed her, but then I fall asleep for a couple hours and I've woken up again. So clearly it's time for more food. She will try to get away with 3 cans a day. But I've managed to make sure, no, she only gets 2 cans. That's the recommended amount. She eats 2 cans of Friskies a day. So that's the only downside. Her food schedule gets a little thrown off whack during Ramadan, but she does not fast. Another thing I hear people saying is, do you fast the entire month? Look, I've admitted it. I am a huge fan of the corpus, but I do not want to become a corpse. No. We do not fast for an entire month non-stop. Seriously, I love the corpus. I do not want to become a corpse. You're fasting from sunrise to sunset every day. So right now, that's about 5 a.m. to about 7:30 p.m. Yeah. So we usually get up around 4:30 a.m., eat something, usually a lot of protein, beans. I have an egg every day. And then we fast from 5 a.m. until about 7:30 p.m. Then you can eat from 7:30 p.m. until 5 a.m. as much as you want. That's how I end up drinking more cans of Red Bull during Ramadan than not during Ramadan. Yeah. So sunrise to sunset, not the entire month. In addition, people often can think that you can drink water. No, fasting is from everything for the entire day. So no food, no water, no IVs, no drugs, no nothing, no smoking, nothing, no candy, no chewing gum, absolutely nothing. From sunrise to sunset, nothing. And that includes the summer. You see, I'll go into it about how the month moves, but nothing. Okay, so that one I've always been confused by. Why people keep asking me, can you drink water? Because it kind of takes away from the whole point. If you can drink water, you could just fill your stomach up with water. So it's from sunrise to sunset. Now, another thing is, people have noticed that it moves backwards every year. Ramadan is never at the same time. This is because Ramadan is based on a lunar calendar. Lunar calendar is 10 days shorter than the solar calendar. So every year, Ramadan goes back 10 days. When I was born, it was in the summer. It goes all through the entire year. During the winter, it's wonderful because the day is really, really short. During the summer, it's not so much. It's sort of like the Jewish calendar, except we have one big difference. They have 12 months, but every third year, this is my general understanding. My father once explained it to me. Every third year, they have an extra month because it's 30 days, 10 days every year. So they add a month on the third year. We don't. So the Muslim calendar will go back 10 days every year. It's shorter than the solar calendar. So right now, Ramadan started like April 2nd. Next year, it will start in March. It'll keep going backwards until it goes back into December, October, etc., etc. That's why it changes all of the time. It's based on the lunar calendar. Another thing that people often ask me is, what if you can't fast? Now, when it comes to not being able to fast, there are two reasons. There's a permanent reason, you are permanently unable to fast, and then there's like temporary. So for example, what if you're pregnant? Pregnant women do not have to fast. However, you have to eventually make it up. So if you can't fast for a couple of days during Ramadan, or even if you can't fast the entire month because you have, say, a medical reason, or you're pregnant, or something like that, a real reason why you can't fast, then you make up the days at a different time, so later in the future. Most people make them up in December because fasting is easier, so you don't have to when you make up days, you don't have to make the exact same time period. So let's say Ramadan is in July and you can't fast for a couple of days. You can make those days up in December. You don't have to wait for July and fast the exact length of time. But you have to have a good reason why you're not fasting. It can't be just like, oh, well, I don't want to fast Ramadan in July, so I'm going to not fast in July and then I'm going to fast all of December. No, it has to be like, for example, you're pregnant. You don't need to fast if you're pregnant. So you can make it up in December. On the other hand, if you have a permanent reason, say, my understanding is, thank God, I do not have diabetes, but my understanding is people with diabetes cannot fast. They have to eat certain diets. I know they have to get injections. I never want to have diabetes. Diabetes is like terrifying to me. But my understanding is you can't ever fast. There are other options open to you. My understanding is, since I've never been in that circumstance, so I can't be 100%. My understanding is you pay donation to feed other people. There are other options, other things you could do other than fasting if you cannot fast and you never will be able to fast. Like you can't, it's not just a temporary thing where you can't fast this year during Ramadan, but you could fast later. You will never be able to fast. There are other options open to you, like donating money to feed people. Paying money to feed people, providing food for people is a great thing to do, especially during Ramadan, because people are fasting. So when you feed them, it's like, they've been fasting all day. It's a big deal. So that's if you can't fast ever. In addition, there's the other thing that some people have brought up, and that is, what if you live in an area where, for example, it's night for all the time? Or what if you live in an area where it's day all of the time? My cousin lives in Ireland, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago, and she was fasting Ramadan, and the day was like 20 hours. And she was telling us about it. It was like she would break her fast, and she barely had time to break her fast before she needed to start fasting again. I've never lived in one of those areas, so I was listening to the conversation, and my understanding is, I think there's a maximum number of hours you fast, 16 hours, or you fast based on a close location, but a location where that isn't an issue. I don't know the full details, but again, you don't have to fast nonstop. If you're in Antarctica during Ramadan and it's night all the time, or if it's day all the time, you don't have to fast that much. So you're not fasting 24 hours. I think the maximum is 16, but there are always options open to you. It's not meant to be impossible. It's meant to, there's always things open and available for you if you can't do it. It's sort of like, also, if you're traveling, another option. If you're traveling, you don't have to fast when you're traveling because of the time zone shifts. So, if you're flying to Egypt, you can make up the days after Ramadan is over, because you'll be fasting, like, depending on the direction you're traveling in, you could be fasting like 2 days in a row. So you don't need to fast if you're traveling. So So those are some of the basic things about Ramadan. It's supposed to be this really holy, spiritual month. I'll admit this is going to sound crazy, but I'm more of a religious person than a spiritual person. There is a difference. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of Ikora Ray. She's too spiritual for me. It's a long story why I'm not very spiritual. I'm not going to go into the details. As I've had certain experiences that happened a couple of years back that made me less of a spiritual person, but I'm a very religious person, obviously. I consider myself a very religious Muslim, but spirituality makes me... I know a lot of people are very spiritual, and I respect that, and I wish I could be more spiritual. My cousin is extremely spiritual, and most of my family is spiritual. I'm not. It's meant to be very spiritual. It's a very important month. It's the month that the Quran came down in. It's the month of Laylatul Qadr, which is a very important event in Islamic history. So it's a very important holy month. Apparently, it's also this year Arab American Heritage Month, which I did not even know existed. Apparently, it's a new thing, but April is apparently Arab American Heritage Month, which, let me add one other interesting side note, because this always surprises people. Most Muslims aren't Arab. People assume that most Muslims are Arab. That's not true. Arabs are only a minority of the Muslims in the world. I think at this point it's like 15%. Last time I checked, it was around 50%. That was years ago. But most Muslims aren't Arab. Malaysia, Indonesia, the Uyghurs are Chinese Muslims, Russia, the United States, Europe, all over the world, Muslims. I think a lot of people think that most Muslims are Arab because the Quran is in Arabic. Pakistan is not an Arab country, but I know Pakistani Muslims who speak Arabic better than Arabs. Okay, so a lot of Muslims will learn Arabic to be able to read the Quran, but they aren't Arab. They just learned Arabic. On the other hand, most Arabs are Muslim. So you're more, I think like Egypt, the population, 95% are Muslim. So most Arabs are Muslim, but most Muslims aren't Arab. So Arab American Heritage Month isn't just about Muslims. There are Christian Arabs. My uncle, Ismail's driver, Rida, he's a really cool guy. He's a really nice guy. He's a very religious Christian. I mean, compared to the Christians you see here in the United States, yeah, he's constantly fasting. And every time when he would drive us to my grandmother's, she would offer him food, and he'd be like, "No, I can't eat. I'm fasting." But he's an extremely religious Christian, and he's Egyptian. So there are a lot of Arabs that aren't Muslim. I mean, not a lot, but there are some. When I'm approached by someone who is an Arab, I don't automatically assume they are Muslim. I usually hope that when people see me, they know I'm obviously Muslim, so they will greet me with Assalamu alaikum, so I know you're Muslim. But if you're a guy or if you're a woman who's not wearing hijab and you happen to be Arab, I don't automatically assume that you are a Muslim because you may not be. So that's one of the things that people just don't know. They don't realize that just because you run into an Arab doesn't mean they're automatically Muslim. Anyway, I hope this video was interesting. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you in the tower, or who knows where at this point. I haven't been playing much video games. It's just been a really rough Ramadan.